Hello, students and teachers of English A Language and Literature for the IB Diploma Program. It's Brad Philpott here with another little video on Paper 1. And as a former Paper 1 examiner, I'd like to share some of the popular and good sentence starters that I found students using in their Paper 1 responses. Now, I noticed that a lot of these great phrases and words really enable students to do this: PEEL, point, evidence, explain, and link. I've explored this pattern in more detail in my previous video called Paper 1 Paragraphing, and I recommend you check it out if you haven't already. Really, you're going to need PEEL to do textual analysis because, remember, textual analysis is the act of you proving that there's an inherent and meaningful connection between the author's choices and the author's purpose, right? So what kinds of words do that? What kinds of words do PEEL? Well, when we look at points that students are making, we see that the verb to use is very popular for setting up a claim about a stylistic feature, right? Through the use of narrative technique or through the use of imagery. That phrase is popular for good reason. It really is kind of half of the point that you need to make. The other half is about purpose, why the writer wrote. And here we see, verbs like aim, which is very clearly about purpose, or conveys a message of, or the author targets, right? This gives a sense of purpose, and you'll need a power verb or two or three in that opening point as well, too, that topic sentence for each paragraph. Phrases like comment critically on, super important. A lot of texts do comment critically on something. A lot of texts spread awareness about. It's a fancier way of saying inform, right? Texts question why something is the way it is, or they convince readers to do something, which is a fancier way of saying persuade. I really do encourage you to go beyond the usual inform, persuade, and entertain when using your verbs in your points. To set up evidence, next, you'll need some words like illustrate, express, evidence, depict. Sounds a little fancier than to show. So those are great words for setting up quotes or pointing to an illustration that's on the page or describing a visual. And then when it comes to the explanations, you're going to need to identify a specific feature. You might get the verb use again, this use of metaphor, or this example of juxtaposition by using hyperbole like this. Notice the word this is in there a lot. It's kind of pointing back to the example that was just given. This example creates a sense of, and that last example there kind of shows where this explanation is going. Remember, you're getting marks on criterion B for connecting those choices that authors have made to the intent that they're trying to achieve and to the effects on the reader. So the effects of language on the reader, and it's okay to write about the reader. This captures the reader's imagination is a really basic phrase I see in a lot of students' work. It can work, don't overuse it. A phrase like this use of juxtaposition reminds readers that. Now we're getting somewhere. The verb suggest and the verb imply should appear a lot in your Paper 1 response. Sometimes I even do a little Command F and look to see how often students have used that verb to see if it's a good Paper 1 response. A little more elementary version of that, this makes readers feel that way. It works, right? Evoke a sense of is better. Appeals to the reader's sense of, now we're getting somewhere. So finally, in your PEEL structure, you're going to want to link back to that main point that you made earlier. And I recommend using an adverb or two that really evaluates the author's action of doing this, right? So how effectively did the author convey the message? How cleverly was he or she in revealing this message that? Or what does the text implicitly suggest, right? And how adept is the text? Those kind of adjectives are very good, and adverbs, they're very good in setting up evaluation, really, for criterion B. So I recommend you use those too. Those are just a few phrases that you can use to do PEEL, which essentially is doing textual analysis, which essentially is Paper 1. So I'd recommend you use those words and phrases. I have a really cool activity on my support site that I just posted It is like a Mad Libs style thing where you can plug and play with some verbs and phrases and see how they work in different sentences in a model response to a pretty cool stimulus text. I'd recommend you check out the support site if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you on the platform. Take care, all the best.